Welcome in, everybody, to another MLS Monday by Scarves and Spikes. Tyler here with Sydney Hunt. What's going on, buddy?
Welcome in. Good to see you again. I'm ready for finally match week. Atlanta United taking on Orlando City on Sunday. But we talk about all of the conference finals or semifinals. Tyler, Hudson River Derby, NYCFC, Red Bulls, in the East, LAC Seattle, Galaxy Minnesota in the West. So looking forward to it with Alex from the Orlando Den podcast coming on to talk with us tonight.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. As Daniel has eloquently put it in the chat, it is conference semifinal match week, and I think at one point, fairly recently, Atlanta fans weren't expecting to still be talking about Atlanta United in the playoffs, but here we are, and it's to their credit, right? It's to the players' credit, it's to the coaches' credit. You got to give the fans some credit too for spurring on the team back at in the second leg of the Miami games, but they've moved on. They've knocked out the Titan and Lionel Messi, and now they're taking on Orlando, which is going to be a rematch of Decision Day. So much going on. Like Sydney said, we will have Alex from the Orlando Lions Den podcast joining us shortly.
Yep.
We're going to dive into it, but I have a quick question.
Yes. What's your question?
Do you do like the grocery pickup thing, like Uber?
Yes.
Okay.
We mainly do Kroger, but
hey, well, I'm so glad you said that.
Why?
So Kroger.
It's not sponsored, by the way.
The second, not sponsored. No. This might cost us a sponsorship. A little irritated. This is a little bit of a rant. Why is it if I go and I say, hey, I want cilantro. My wife, Puerto Rican, we cook with a lot of cilantro. Twice, Kroger, that you do substitutes, right? And I get it. You sub things. Some things don't make sense to sub. Parsley is not a substitution for cilantro.
It's definitely not.
It irritates me so much. But it's the second time in like 2 months that it's happened, and I think it's the same person, and it drives me crazy. So there's my little mini rant for the beginning of
Sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear about your plight, but I totally understand where you're coming from, because that was that's kind of a big deal.
Not even the same flavor profile.
Right. Exactly.
One's almost just a decoration.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, hopefully you can get your cilantro sooner rather than later if you haven't already.
We'll see. All right. So we're gonna dive into it. We're gonna start with the West because I want to give Alex a chance to talk about some of the East Coast stuff whenever he hops on. But to me, I think the Eastern Conference this particular year, these semifinals are the more intriguing. But the one, I think the better one out West is going to be LAFC Seattle. Take us through real quick, Sydney. What are your kind of first thoughts?
No, LAC Seattle is like definitely going to be like the quote unquote sexy matchup. I mean, in that, LAC are one of the biggest clubs in MLS, and Seattle certainly are too, but Seattle, are one of the more consistent clubs in MLS. So with LAFC, you definitely have that star power of Bouanga. You have Lloris, who, he's had plenty of big game experience. There's no understating that at all for LAFC. Denis Bouanga was in the running for Golden Boot. Really one of the most lethal strikers in MLS. And they have other players, obviously, that have really helped them throughout the course of the season. But I think it's going to be about those names that I just mentioned for LAFC as they look to get back to MLS Cup for the second straight year. So what can Seattle do to neutralize them? Seattle, of course, their defense is really been second to none in MLS. They're going to be tough to break down. And I think LAFC, with that match being at home, they have the real chance to, take it to Seattle if they want to. The 3-2-5-2 will be behind them. They're going to, have the BMO Stadium sold out. And I feel like it really favors Seattle. It really favors LAFC in that match. Now, again, if, Seattle are on their game defensively, they could definitely make it tough on LAFC throughout the night, but I feel like it definitely favors Seattle or LAFC. I don't know KCCL, but no favorite.
What you're saying is it favors Seattle.
No, definitely favors.
That's how you really feel.
How do you feel? How do you feel about it?
I actually do think, again, this is kind of going with the heart, not the mind. I kind of like Seattle in this match. Like, I understand the odds are definitely stacked against them, but you've seen LA struggle with some more disciplined defensive teams. Yeah. And we've kind of talked about it recently. We talked about it, I think, with Jason a couple of weeks ago when he came on. But LAFC has this style of play that's effective, but it feels like they have another gear or two to unlock that they're not right now. And it almost feels like they're kind of spoiled with riches and having, a phenomenal world-class striker, but a system that probably doesn't really fit having a phenomenal world-class striker playing the typical number 9. So there's so many kind of oddball things about it. And Brian Schmetzer, it's funny because you go back a few months and there were rumblings, people calling for his job. Right. And here they are, zombie Sounders again. Not that they were ever really out of it, but they've made it to the conference semifinals. So I don't know. I think there's something to be said about Seattle in this one. And I don't think they're going to go down without a fight. The biggest thing with them, though, is who's going to score the goals. It's because it's not as if you have the guaranteed guy that maybe Seattle's had in the past.
Yeah. So what is the deal? Kind of going back to LAFC. What is the deal with Olivier Giroud? I think we talked about him a few weeks in a row, but he hasn't really affected LAFC in the way that they affected him. I know we were talking to Jason, and he said he feels like that's more of a 2025 signing. So you wonder what the deal is with him. You wonder if that's kind of, I don't want to say X factor, but he's played in some of the biggest matches of all time. I mean, he's a World Cup champion along with Lloris. Is he kind of the X factor for LAFC? Is this time where he kind of gets into the lineup and sort of clicks? I mean, what are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I think he is just like Gareth Bale before him, and so many other high class guys that LAFC have had, but also the Galaxy and other teams. They tend to shine for the most part in those moments, right? Yeah. And you can't put it past a guy like Giroud to come through and make it happen in the worst possible circumstances. So, but he's going to have to, and he hasn't really shown that at LAFC yet. Again, because I just don't think that the team is really built in a way that plays to his strengths. Yeah. And I mean, look, you can have whoever you want out there. You can have the Ronaldos, you can have the Girouds, you can have the Messis. I mean, we're talking about it with Atlanta. If the whole team is not a cohesive unit, there's only so much those guys can do. And here they are back in a situation where they have every reason to win this game. But Seattle's not going to make it easy. So,
yeah, I'm still leaning with LAFC, though. Yeah. I mean, I would be surprised if Seattle won, maybe in penalties, but kind of leaning at LAFC.
Yeah, I could see that. I think for me, and we'll get Alex in here in a moment, get his 2 cents. I know he's mainly here to talk about Orlando, but obviously can chime in on all the other games. Yeah. I think for me, again, going with the heart, not the mind, I'm going to say Seattle. I think it's going to be 1-1 in regulation and penalties, and I think they win it.
Yeah. I like it. I'm going to say with LAFC.
Okay. I mean, it is a little a toss-up, in my opinion.
Yeah. I feel like it kind of is.
All right. So we'll bring on Alex, and we can kind of jump into the other Western Conference matchup, Hudson River Derby back east, and then, of course, the big one, Atlanta versus Orlando. But without further ado, from the Orlando Lions Den podcast, Alex, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, Alex?
How we doing, gentlemen?
Good, man.
Pretty good.
To see you.
All right.
Happy Monday. Yeah. Tommy sent me the wrong link.
Oh, no.
Tommy gave me the link for last week's show. So,
that freaking guy.
Oh, we got
you in an Apple store panicking and sending me the new link. So we got it done, and I'm here.
Yeah, glad you got in, though.
Freaking Tommy. We're going to have to knock him some pay or something. I don't know.
I think this is payback for all the stuff I said about Atlanta on battered herons,
Oh,
or
yeah.
battered MLS a couple weeks ago.
Obviously.
That came back to haunt me.
Well, we'll see how it plays out in the, I guess, the arena that matters. But look,
Yeah.
we'll get Tommy back for you, I promise.
We'll work on something.
Yeah. All he can do right now is type in the comments.
Right.
So I guess, and I don't want to like sneak attack you with questions. So feel free to jump in. We were just about to dive into the Galaxy Minnesota matchup. Obviously you're an Orlando fan. Y'all follow them similar to how we do Atlanta, but how much are you kind of keeping an eye on the rest of the semifinals?
Not as much. I have peeked in on Seattle a little bit because I was a big fan of them back in the day. But honestly, I don't know if if the West is going to be all that competitive compared to the East, just because how good LAFC and the Galaxy have been all season. And I'm scared of both of those teams. I mean, I'm looking way ahead, but both of those teams are scary teams, and the fact that all of the good teams that could have theoretically beaten them in a seasonable fashion in the East have not advanced.
Yeah.
Thanks partially to you guys. Thanks to just an unbelievable moment for Atlanta. And I think the only wild card is Seattle. I would like to think that Minnesota can do it, especially because that's the only chance there is to have Orlando host, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, we were talking before you came on. It's kind of a toss up. I'm going with LAFC. Tyler's going with Seattle, but I would say myself, I wouldn't be surprised if Seattle won that match just on the strength of their defense. Just a terrific back line.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Fry's lost a bit of a step in that, but he's had the defense in front of him to really help him out. And I could definitely say that when going to penalties, if they do, I feel like that maybe favors Seattle. But I think by and large, with that match being at BMO Stadium, with a 3-2, 5-2 going to be backing LAFC, I think they win that game in regulation. I guess, how are you kind of feeling? I know you said you're mentioning Seattle, but how are you kind of feeling as we talk tonight?
I think we're going to be lucky enough to get a LA Derby for the Western Conference Finals. I don't see Seattle advancing just because of how good LAFC have gotten throughout the season and the fact that they want to outshine the Galaxy. This is actually a pretty big moment because for a long time it was a very one-sided rivalry, and I think that both teams are going to have a lot of motivation. They're both playing at home. They have the advantage of, especially LAFC, of an unbelievable support. And I just don't see Seattle or Minnesota advancing past them. I do agree with you that I can see LAFC Seattle going to penalties, but I think they finish it in 120 minutes.
Sweet. So let's play, fan fiction for a minute. If it does end up being an El Trafico for the conference final, do you go with LAFC or do you go with the Galaxy?
I'm going to go with LAFC. I think they've just been too dominant over the past couple of years, and they've just built on that momentum. I don't have really any other educated way to say that. I just don't think the Galaxy have enough. And they've been a good team this year.
Yeah.
But I don't think they have enough.
I mean, you say that even with like Pack, even with like Jovic playing, being having a terrific season. Of course, the question was how did he perform now that he was the number one striker in LA for the Galaxy, I should say. But you have Peck coming in and was newcomer of the year, just like that to MLS. Paintsel, who had a good start to his season, but kind of taper off just a little bit. Pooch, who I believe is one of the best passers, best midfielders in MLS. So we have players on that roster, the Galaxy do, that could make it difficult for whoever they play. If they make it to the conference finals, I do think they'll beat Minnesota. I feel like the big question for Minnesota is how will St. Clair do? He's going to be probably the major factor for Minnesota. Maybe Led, who's probably was a comeback player of the year candidate after getting hurt last year. But I feel like, kind of talking about the Galaxy, I feel like that series definitely, or that game definitely leans toward the Galaxy. I think they just have the talent up and down the roster to really dominate Minnesota.
Yeah, and then Alex, go ahead. Because
I will say, you guys were talking about matches going 90 or 120. That match is only going 90. And I can see Galaxy getting a multi-goal victory on that. That's not going to penalties. That's not going to 120. Yeah, they're going to take care of business in standard time.
That's kind of what I was going to say. I think, like, out of the two, I mean, LAFC and Seattle has the chance to be something close. And, of course, we say all this, and we're in Atlanta United podcast just coming off of what happened with Miami. So, whatever.
Anything is possible.
Yeah.
Gray said Miguel Berry with a brace to beat LAFC in El Trafico.
Yeah.
But no, I mean,
I know about that.
I do agree. Minnesota, I think some people would argue Atlanta is probably the most under the radar team to come into the playoffs and make it to this point, just because of how up and down the season's been. But I mean, Minnesota just kind of like obviously we're Eastern Conference guys, but Minnesota just kind of floats around, and then they appear whenever they have some news. But like, here they are about to take on the Galaxy, and I've said it before. In my opinion, the Galaxy's the most well-rounded team in MLS this year, but that's a tough ask. That's a tough ask for them to go and beat the Galaxy for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the Western Conference. That's the Western Conference. Let's jump back over to the East. A little closer to home. Hudson River Derby, obviously. I think anytime you can get one of the few true derbies in MLS. I mean, we talked about El Trafico. That'll be fun if it happens. Hudson River Derby is a big one. I didn't realize how close it was. Historically, Red Bulls has 11 wins and New York City has 10, and they each have 4 draws. Red Bulls with 38 goals to New York City's 32. So edged out a little bit by the Red Bulls, but not by much. Alex, I know y'all have had some good games with them this year, but I guess off the cuff, what do you kind of think about that matchup?
Well, the calibration, especially for NYCFC, is they handed us our biggest loss of the season. We were coming off of a 3-day match. I believe it was 5-day against Chicago Fire. And we traveled to Yankee Stadium and got our doors blown off and lost our backup goalkeeper who was serving as active goalkeeper, Mason Standahar, for the season, broke his leg, just a horrific injury. And we lost him, and it was all downhill from there. It's in that match. In reality, that was our wake-up call. That was our worst match of the season. That was when we realized put up or shut up, and we went on an unbelievable tear since that. So as far as the two of them go, I'm still more scared of NYCFC, but this is a coin flip. I think this is a coin flip of a match, and whoever shows up and wants it more. I don't know. I should have done a little more homework on this, but the interesting thing to me is how many players are going on international duty. And that's something I'll get into with our matchup, because I'll be curious to hear where you guys are coming from on international duty, but that's going to play a factor into this.
Yeah, it's definitely that revenge factor too. Like NYCFC just obliterated the Red Bulls in September, and I think a lot of us were thinking, gosh, what's going to happen with the Red Bulls? I mean, they just can't buy a win at this point in time. They're just down the dregs. They're getting healthy. Forsberg has been terrific for them, especially in the playoffs. So definitely that, and the revenge factor of, a few weeks ago, a few months ago, are going to play a big part in this match. Like, you don't want to lose. You never want to lose, obviously, the Hudson River Derby. You certainly don't want to lose in the playoffs. And guys, this is something that we didn't mention. This is the first time these two teams, like Atlanta or Orlando, are going to be meeting in the playoffs. So take normal Hudson River Derby and multiply it by 1,000, and you're going to get what we have this weekend. So that's another factor, some other factors to really think about going into this match. And it's going to be a really appealing matchup between those two teams at Citi Field, not Yankee Stadium, but Citi Field.
Do you ever wonder?
Did they ever give a reason for that? Like, why aren't they playing at Yankee Stadium?
I didn't see that, to be honest with you.
I know at one point, obviously, the conversation back, this was a couple of weeks ago. That was when MLB was still in, and of course, Yankee Stadium has things going on.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the reason was now, though. Honestly, it could be a variety of things, but
they just need to build that stadium. Good grief.
Yeah. Preach.
Yeah.
The fact that you're back up is another baseball field. It drives me insane.
Right.
Oh, it drives me crazy. But yeah, so you look at that kind of quote unquote home field advantage, and I don't think we've seen New York City have much of a fall off, though, because Atlanta played them at Citi Field this year, right? And it's still a baseball field, and what it comes down to is the best home field advantage in the league comes down to the size of the pitch, because they're used to playing on it. They're used to playing on the postage stamp, and then you take a team like Red Bulls, who they're going to want to press, and they do play fairly well in closer quarters, but to me, this one just kind of plays a little bit more into New York City's hands, I think, because you're used to it. First of all, you're used to the pitch size.
Yeah.
You've already had the momentum of that September match where you just absolutely rocked them.
Yeah.
And then if Red Bulls can't effectively press, New York City's going to play right over the top of them, and it's going to be another murder that everybody's going to have to watch on Apple TV. So,
yeah. And again, just I know, excuse me, Alex, I know you talked about when Orlando played them, or both teams this season.
Yeah, we played them in June, and it was not a good match. And New York Red Bulls, that was not a good match for us either.
But again, you look at how much this team has improved over the past few weeks, how they've gotten healthy, how they've really put the pieces of the puzzle together. And this, I feel like, I don't know what you feel, but like out of the 8 teams in the field right now, I feel like Red Bulls have, and you talk about the recent history, that's the Metro and all that, they have, I feel like, as good a chance as any to win MLS Cup, or at least get to MLS Cup, get out of the East. When you measure it against the teams that are in the field right now in the Eastern Conference, Red Bulls have as good a chance as anybody. That's just based on my opinion. What do you feel?
I think that they have a chance, especially considering how much they've improved. But it's like you said, the home field advantage, and specifically the smaller pitch, we've been victims of that way too many times, where we go in thinking we're going to play one way, and then we show up and we're just congested. Like, they pack you in and they keep you tight. And with wanting to press very hard, like Red Bulls have done most of the season, it's going to be hard for them to open up space, especially if they're going to try and bring a lot of stuff in from the corners. That is, doing those crosses is brutal on a baseball field, and we are long overdue to get this out of the league. Like, this is USL championship stuff that they just need to stop.
I would go even further down the pyramid than that, man. It is embarrassing.
Hey, we have a League One. We have a League One team starting up here, and I live in Naples, Florida, starting up here next year. And our pitch is amazing. Yeah, it's artificial turf, but it's a beautiful 5,000 seat stadium. And we just this week saw Memphis lose their franchise because they couldn't get a permanent stadium. And getting stadiums is harder and harder because Orlando went through this. We had to pay for our own stadium. Our owner paid for the whole thing because the state, the city wouldn't pay for it.
Yeah. And credit to NYCFC. I mean, we joke about playing Yankee Stadium. Credit to them. Credit to really the city of New York for finally getting this off the ground. From by all accounts, it looks like a beautiful ground, and it's going to be feels like a destination MLS once it does get built. So good to see that stadium finally getting built, and eventually, and we can finally stop talking about NYCFC playing at City Field because Yankee Stadium isn't available. But yeah,
I still think the pitch will be small on that.
Yeah, it will be.
Stadium.
They would be stupid not to. It has to be small,
Yeah.
Stick with it.
Yeah.
So really quick, while we're still on this one, when Orlando doesn't advance, what team? What team? Like, we got to make it spicy at some point.
Yeah.
What team would you rather hypothetically play against? Red Bulls or New York City?
I want NYCFC because we came into the league with them. They were our first match. We've had some very interesting, like before you guys came into the league and before Miami came into the league, they were one of our main rivals. It was kind of manufactured, and you come into the league together and you're just gutting it out. But that would be fun to play them, and they're going to have to adapt to playing in front of 25,000 crazy people in Orlando for the conference final. That's the one I want.
Sweet. That makes sense. It makes sense.
If Orlando wins.
And we're off.
Anyway, here we go. All right, now the appetizer's over. Let's go.
Main course.
Yeah.
Now we can make it fun.
Right.
Don started calling it the Dirty South Derby.
Yeah.
I don't think this Atlanta Orlando matchup has ever really gotten an official name.
Nope.
Yeah.
And every time I'm on a podcast with anyone, it's always, what is the name of the derby?
Yeah.
And the Battered Herons guys ask me this all the time, and I'm like, we still haven't gotten it right.
Yeah.
And neither has the Atlanta Orlando rivalry, because there isn't one, especially because Orlando was the first Southern team that still exists. Obviously, there was Tampa and Miami back in the dark days, but this was the first kind of Southern team, and so many teams have been added since then. And I had a lot of people saying, oh man, and I think Tommy even said to me when we were messaging the other day about this, that Charlotte would have been a better Southern matchup. But this matchup has a lot more history. And I was actually looking back on it, and I've been to quite a few of these matches.
Yeah.
We haven't played in the playoffs, but 2019 Open Cup semifinal, Atlanta knocks out Orlando.
Yeah.
And you guys went on to win that season.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yep.
Against Minnesota, which was interesting because they, like you talked about with New York, they came into the league the same time as Atlanta did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was our old manager, Adrian Heath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So never got a win against you guys.
So how do the fans overall kind of feel about, like, because we hear about it from Atlanta fans all the time. How do Orlando fans look at this, derby rivalry, just another day of the office, like however they feel. We hear some of them when we're down there at the games, but overall, like, what is the vibe?
I'm one of them. I used to be one of them.
There you go.
I know all those chants, and I'm getting too old for that.
So how do they look at it?
They're looking at this as, I don't know if revenge is the right word. They're looking at this as a big rivalry game. The wall is already sold out, and that's a feat because it hasn't been sold out pretty much all season. Wall's sold out. I think a good majority of the stadium is going to be sold out. They're licking their chops at this, because either way, we were going to get a rivalry game, and this one has more history. It's the funniest thing is, and I will say one line that was kind of thrown around a lot was built not bought was a big thing in the early days. I'm sure you've seen, and I think there was a tifo. there's been a billion tifos at this point
Mm.
in this rivalry. And this one has so much history. The 2017, both 2017 games with the billboard, with what happened pregame, the Kaká equalizer laid at Bobby Dodd, our fans apparently vandalizing Bobby Dodd, the Will Johnson Cupgate game. There's been so many of these games that got under our skin, and it was finally Oscar Perea who got us over that hill and beat you guys for the first time in 2020.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
and that was a big moment for the fan base. And we've always wanted what you guys had. You won MLS Cup first. You won the Open Cup the year before we were able to in 2020 or 2022. We've always been chasing Atlanta, and now we're the host in a playoff game, and we get the opportunities to send you guys home. That's what the fan base is looking at right now. And I hope it's what the team is looking at, because there's guys on that team that have been here for 5-6 years, like Kyle Smith, who's been so involved in this rivalry.
Mm. So kind of branching off of that, you talk about playoffs, you talk about the 2022 Open Cup final, their first major trophy in club history. You look at the Pereja tenure, and this team has consistently gotten into the playoffs, been consistent fourth in the MLS Eastern Conference. That being said, when it gets to the playoffs, it just seems like they've hit kind of a wall. How much of that has worn out this team, and how much of that has been a point of frustration for this club? In that, yes, they've won Open Cup in 2022, but they still have yet to win a Supporters Shield, still have to win MLS Cup, and haven't really, again, hit that high point in the playoffs. Like, what is the fan base's mindset around that?
The fan base's mindset is frustration and fatigue.
Yeah.
They are tired, and this is equal to where we have advanced every single season. Before the 3-match playoff with the wild card play-in, we did beat NYCFC in that crazy game in 2020. I was there. I was one of those psychopaths. I took my shirt off. There's a GIF somewhere on Giphy where I'm just twirling it around and showing way too much. And it's always something in the playoffs for us. And we've never gotten beyond the conference semifinals. And this is a moment that we didn't think we were going to be in 4 months ago, because 17 games in, we were not a good team. And that's how it's been the last 2 years. Oscar Perea has started slow and he's built it up. And the fans are tired of it. I'm tired of it. But I still, for some reason, have faith that this is the year that we can do it. We were this far away from beating Columbus in extra time last year in the semifinal. It just didn't happen. And they ended up pulverizing us in extra time, and it didn't work out.
I remember
I'm praying for my own health and safety that this game does not go at 120.
Yeah,
we'll get to that.
Yeah. After sitting through the Miami series with Atlanta, I don't know how many fans' hearts can take a whole lot of drama in this match. Like, you almost wish, whatever way it goes, for it just to be like cut and dry, done and dusted, like 90 minutes, and that's it, and it's very obvious. But that's probably not what's going to happen, because it is a rivalry, right? It is a derby. You don't expect that with the Hudson River Derby. You don't expect it with El Tráfico, so why should you expect it with this? But that's, I think at the end of the day, like, this is one of those, if MLS would lean into it, it's a really intriguing matchup. It really, like, all the stuff around it, like, it doesn't have the glitz and the glam maybe of an El Tráfico or anything involving Miami, right? But
it's got the grit.
Some stories.
Yeah.
Exactly. I like it.
A lot of fried food, eaten by both fan bases, so please don't make it that dramatic. I had friends in Orlando that were literally puking after penalty kicks against Charlotte.
Yeah.
It was rough. And the way it was because of the dramatic VAR check for Duncan McGuire's foul, who I don't know if you guys saw this. The man literally sacrificed his shoulder just to get that penalty kick.
And then popped it back into place.
Yeah, and was fighting to go in and take a penalty kick, and they wouldn't let him.
It's a shame.
Yeah,
let the man cook at that point. Like, come on,
let him go. Like he's gonna blast that ball against the best goalkeeper in MLS this season.
Yeah.
So, real quick about McGuire. I mean, he almost went to Europe in the off season, but that got botched. I mean, I feel like you have a lot of opinions on it, but I mean, what's the deal? Do you see a move for him into Europe in the 2025 off season, or what's going to happen there?
Duncan McGuire, I don't know, because Pochettino was at the match checking out Duncan and a couple other players on Charlotte, and Duncan had a good performance, but he got hurt. He didn't get called up. Thank God. At least somebody on our team didn't get called up.
Yeah.
Pedro, Wilder, Facundo, they all got called up. They're playing matches tomorrow and then flying back and doing like 4 days of prep. I'm so happy this match is on Sunday and not Saturday.
Yeah.
That extra day is very key for us.
So speaking of that, and you kind of asked earlier, so I'll take you through ours real quick, and then if you want to give the full list of guys that are out, because Atlanta has a handful as well. Luis Abram, center back, who he's kind of been that backup to a degree, but he's had to step up because of injuries and everything else. And I think he went and played against Messi again, right? Or is he about to? After the Miami match. So anyway, Luke
He's
Brennan,
with Peru.
Yeah, he's with Peru.
Memorable qualifier,
He'll be playing with Pedro.
Yeah.
Yep, that's right. Luke Brennan, they went down and they just won over Korea.
U20s.
Yeah, Stian Gregerson with Norway. I think they won 5-0, and they had a clean sheet over Slovenia. I'm sorry, over Kazakhstan. Yeah. Saba. Yeah, I'm working my way through the list. Saba Lobjanidze. I haven't really kept up with what he's been doing, but they had a 1-1 draw against Ukraine, and then they're playing tomorrow against Czech Republic. Alexei Miranchuk with Russia, playing Brunei and Syria, and then Efrain Morales with Bolivia, and then of course, Slish with Poland. Got the crap beat out of them against Portugal, and then they're playing Scotland tonight, right now.
Not surprisingly.
Yeah. So there's our list. So we're in the same boat. You're gonna have a lot of guys that are coming back and getting a few days. Like you said, thankfully it's on Sunday. But I know you mentioned Facundo Torres, obviously Pedro, but who else with Orlando?
Dagerdan Thorhalsson is playing in the. He normally rides the bench for Iceland, but he's out playing in the UEFA Nations League qualifying. So it's going to be interesting when he comes back, because he also plays on Tuesday. David Brekalo, who's also been, it was actually kind of a surprise at how much he's spent on the bench this year, because he was brought in to kind of be a long-term replacement for Robin Janssen, who's getting up there in years. And Janssen has kept his spot. Brekalo went out hurt for a little bit, and Rodrigo Schlegel, who every year, for the 5 years he's been with the club, every year there's another guy in front of him, and he somehow slots in and keeps the spot. So David Brekalo is out. I don't think that's a huge impact, at least from a starter point of view. And then Fabian Loyola, who has seen very little time. He's from our academy, was also with Chile U20s. So we had 6 players out, and a couple of them are big stars. Like for us, Facundo Torres, we're not talking right now. I'm already well into the off season without Facundo Torres and that penalty kick.
Yeah.
So him and Pedro are my 2 biggest concerns, that they can come back A, healthy, and B, rested enough to have a couple of days of training and get into the groove with the team.
So you mentioned
I will note, we have had a history of coming back from international breaks this year and losing. It happened right after
Hey, I'll
Leagues
take
Cup.
it.
Yeah.
Well, you've already taken it because it's what happened on decision day.
Yeah.
That was right after international break, and you guys pulled off that great escape, that great miracle to get in. And at the time when I ran my mouth to Tommy and lost a bet because of it, I was mad. Now I'm thankful, because I don't think any other team could have done what you guys did to Miami, and for that I am thankful.
A lot of MLS.
Well, happy to do it.
Yeah, you guys did
No,
exactly what the Bills did to Kansas City last night.
Go Bills.
Got a Bills fan over here.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I was really happy about that one, needless to say.
I'm a Bears fan, so I hate my life right now. Can you see all the life that's not in my eyes?
Hoping you guys turn it around sooner rather than later.
We won't. It's okay.
You mentioned Schlegel. How do you rate him? Do you rate him at all? Or, I mean, he's a veteran with Orlando. He's been there forever. Do you rate Schlegel?
But he's young still. I believe he's 25 or 26. But he is honestly, he went from being a club. He was the one that saved all the goals during the playoffs. He's 27. So born in 97, 27. He's a wild card. He's the one, him and Cesar Araujo just got under Messi's skin in Leagues Cup last year and got him mad. And it unfortunately didn't work out because when he played mad and put up a brace on us.
Yeah.
He's a great substitute, but I always get nervous when he starts making reckless plays. And in his defense, he's been playing great soccer since the Leagues Cup break. So my hopes are he, in getting a little older, has helped him cool down a little bit, and it's not going to lead to him being a problem in this match. There are going to be problems in this match, and they have names. Their names are Cesar Araujo and Wilder Cartagena. Anytime yellow cards for at least one of those players. This is not gambling advice, but
yeah.
We call it, our good friends, another podcast, it's always juice boxes. How are we betting on the juice boxes? This
betting is not legal in the state of Georgia, so you don't have to worry about it.
It is very legal in the state of Florida. You can't turn your head without seeing an advertising for Hard Rock.
Yeah.
Just can't turn your head.
I play them up here in Georgia, try to get the crowd going down south to gamble in Hollywood.
So you kind of touched on a little bit, but as far as the health status, like how is everybody looking? Obviously, we're not going to know a ton, and we won't know with Atlanta for a couple of days as far as like the list, especially with the international stuff going on. But coming off of the last match, what does Orlando's kind of health status look like?
Clean. The only one that is still kind of day to day is Duncan McGuire, and seeing if his shoulder is good enough to be able to contribute. And I think that's going to be one of the key factors in this, because our other striker who kind of usurped both him and Luis Muriel over the summer, Ramiro Enrique, he's cooled off again. We had most of the summer he went on a run of, I think it was 7 matches in a row that he had a goal and it was like 9, a goal or an assist. And it was right after he got injured at the start of the season and went home to get his green card so that we could have another international spot.
Yeah.
And he came back and he just went off. And by the 4th or 5th game, his new nickname was Green Card Enrique.
That's awesome.
And he's cooled off. And despite that, Oscar Perea has been starting him in every match of the playoffs. And he hasn't, I think he scored in the first match. No, he didn't. That was Torres and Ojeda. He's cooled off. And I think that if Duncan is healthy enough, I think Duncan's going to get the start. But that entirely depends on his health and if he's able to go 90, because in close competitive matches like this that are going to be physical, that's a big thing. He can't just be shoved around. It could pop out. Like there was a game, this is the second time he's separated his shoulder this year. So
Really?
There was a game where it actually, I believe it popped out again right after he came back from it. So that's the big concern is he going to be able to take the hits? Is he going to be able to make the runs without having pain?
So if Duncan McGuire isn't able to go on Sunday, how much pressure does that put on Facudores in that match? And outside of him, who can Orlando look for scoring? Because McGuire, of course, we talked about him earlier, has been targeted for a European move for a while. But how does Orlando's attack look without him, and how does that affect their chances?
The pressure on Facundo will be big. I mean, it's already big on him. He's been our leading scorer all season. And he got hot after he got rejected by Uruguay for not CONCACAF, for the why am I blanking on the tournament
qualifier?
No,
Copa America.
Copa America.
Yeah.
And he got sent away after that, which benefited us because we had him for a longer run, and he got angry and he played angry. I can see he will be a factor in this match. I think he's going to be scoring at least 1 in this match. I would love him to score 3 because we haven't had a hat trick in 10 years. But
really,
10 years. It's been 10 years since
fact.
September. Trust me, I tweet the date every time we get a brace and we don't do it. And it happened like 5 or 6 times this season.
Wow.
All we want is a hat trick. Last person to do it for Orlando was Kyle Laren in September of 2015.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Facundo,
tonight.
Yep. It's not a fun fact, but it exists.
Yeah.
And Facundo is either way going to be a bigger factor in this match than Duncan McGuire. Duncan is a big factor. He's kind of chaotic. He's a smarter, more athletic version of Dom Dwyer, a player you guys do know well.
Yes.
Yep.
And he just gets in there and he makes plays. And he's physical and he's grain fed. He's a Midwestern boy.
Yeah.
We have a nickname for him in the fan base, call him the Holland of the Heartland. I don't know if they got that from Extra Time or Extra Time got it from us, but there's some debate about that.
That's amazing.
He's a big boy and he's gritty, and that's what this matchup needs. But if he can't play 90 minutes, I'd rather see him off the bench.
Yeah. So in terms of, I guess, the fan perspective and all, I know there's going to be plenty of Atlanta fans making the trip. And a lot of them do every time this matchup happens down in Orlando. But for those that it might be their first time, what do you recommend they do? What to eat? Where to go besides Disney?
I was going to make the Disney joke, but that's too easy.
Universal.
Some of the places I can't recommend because it would unfortunately bring them too close to the supporters. And the last time that happened, someone ended up with blood on a jersey.
Yeah, that's no bueno. We'll try to avoid that.
So there's a couple. I believe it's called Harp and Selt downtown is a popular English bar. They're the local Liverpool bar. I've been there a couple times. That's a good place. I think it's the AO bar as well. That's a good spot. There's a couple good breweries around the stadium. I'll look up one of them while we keep talking, and I'll plug them at the end. Or they can go and get a Orlando Lions Den No Mango No Party at Hourglass Brewing. Just had to throw that little ad in there. We had a watch party and beer collaboration with them over the summer. Although I'm pretty sure the beer's gone. It's good beer though.
I'll be there. I want to try it. It's possible.
Our own beer.
That's awesome.
I've got a can back there somewhere, but I think it's out of frame.
That's good. So I always enjoy when we see podcasts and websites and all that do like a beer collaboration.
Add that to the list for us.
Yeah,
you guys already got the pint glasses. I already noticed.
We do. We do.
Yeah, there's
halfway there.
Merchandising.
That's right. No, I'll be down there for the match. I'll be doing the press box thing, but I may see if I can snag some kind of beer down there. I mean, I'm in Orlando a lot, so I've had a lot of local stuff from there, but I'm always on the lookout for one I haven't had. So
I'll be driving to Texas during the match, so I'll be streaming in the car
responsibly.
Yeah.
While you keep looking that up, Sydney, as far as I think from an Atlanta perspective, we all know kind of how it felt last time, and I'll ask Alex this in a second as he looks up what he was looking at. But the way that this last one went down on decision day, obviously you had the VAR call that thankfully went Atlanta's way, which doesn't seem to happen very often. But
we wouldn't be talking tonight.
Yeah.
If you said that to an Orlando City fan, they would not agree with you. But
it's something about VAR and Florida in general. But
letter of the law.
Well, I mean, was it a handball? I didn't get to. I only got to watch the final 10 minutes of your guys' match. Was it a handball? Because we've gone both ways on the handball and the offside calls that have called back goals this year.
It did go off his arm. By the letter of the law, apparently that has to be a handball because they can say like he's the last attacker whose arm it hit before it went to the net. So by the letter of the law, the goal shouldn't have counted. That being said, I feel like this is me just kind of editorializing. I feel like Orlando fans have every reason to feel hard done by that. And I wonder if we've talked about it before, wonder if that's something that pro and the referee union worldwide looks at. So just kind of sidebarring there, but it's one of those, I don't want to say gray areas, but maybe it's something that needs to be taken a closer look at just to balance the game out. But anyway, sorry to kind of get us off topic.
But that's how it is, right? I mean,
that's how podcasts go.
Yeah. we can opine and be frustrated about the referees and some of their decisions. I'm still not letting the thing that happened in the Atlanta Miami matches go. Like it freaking pisses me off. And Atlanta came out on the good end of that ultimately. Yeah. But the fact that we're part of a league where you can have like these very fine lines, right? Like that last Atlanta Orlando game, very tight. And then you have like, again, from our perspective, the Atlanta Miami match where you have a dude just straight up shove is not even the best word for it because it felt like more than that. It was like the pushing version of a Spartan kick.
Yeah.
And he throws him into the net, and then Brad Gazan falls for like 15 minutes and can't get out. He finally does get out, but there's
I did see the memes. I saw the memes.
Oh yeah. And well, like they're deserved memes for sure. Like it was funny. I can say that because we won, but
right.
It's just it's interesting how inconsistent things can
Yeah,
be.
no, definitely. So, like, we already kind of talked about what Orlando will do differently in this match. I mean, I don't want to ask what would be the mindset would be if Orlando don't lose.
Oh,
Here's Tommy.
God.
It hit his arm. Don't you start with me. It hit his arm. Or his elbow, whatever. That's all I had. I'll see you guys. My computer's not working still, but it's getting there, I guess.
Have you tried turning it off and back on again?
Yeah.
I tried to kick it. It doesn't work, but...
Maybe don't do that.
Oh, better? Yeah, better one, better two. Yeah, all right. That's all I'd say. It hit his arm.
Thank you for the grand tour of your house, Tom.
Yes. No, exactly.
What? Here's the real star of the show.
Oh.
There you go. All right. Go Atlanta. Orlando sucks. Bye.
Bye.
We love you.
I won't hit end.
Yeah.
Please
Lead studio.
In case you
Sounds like something that's happened before.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we're in the middle of just full on podcast and he gets on because he was like at a wedding or something for 5 minutes. And then he's like, all right, I'm out. Just like he did now.
That's the stream.
And he ended the whole freaking thing.
No, but kind of going back, like, what will be the mindset if Orlando can't come through with a win on Sunday? Will it be, in the mindset of, gosh, here we go again? You know, another playoff loss, or will
Can I
fans
swear?
kind of what?
Can I swear?
Yeah,
Absolutely. Hey, open it up.
on YouTube, you're fine.
It's same shit, different day.
Yeah,
Same shit, different year. And this one honestly will probably hurt more than the previous ones, but the reality is this is the mark, like I was saying earlier, this is the mark we've gotten to every year in the playoffs, and we've never been able to get past it. And the worst part about it is this year it took 3 games against Charlotte to do it.
yeah,
And 3 games that one game we looked amazing in, one game we looked like crap in, and one game that we somehow gritted it out and got it done. But there's 2 factors in this. I'm optimistic by nature. I'm the optimistic guy on the pod. There's 2 factors in this match that are going to be essential to get Orlando City over this hill and get Oscar Perea over this hump of not being able to make it to the conference finals. Do we actually prepare well and not try and change our entire tactics? Because that's what happened between match 1 and match 2 of the Charlotte series. We went from full on shoving it in their face and making them regret coming to our house, which is what I'm hoping we're going to bring to Atlanta. And with those preparations, still on the preparations, have players rested coming off the international break and make them congeal again in just a couple of days, because we've always come out looking like we'd taken 2 weeks off. And that's something that I'm genuinely scared about, but I think we can overcome it this time if Oscar Perea wants to continue to be here long term.
Do you feel is there any pressure on Perea?
There's been pressure on Perea for 2 years.
Oh, for sure. But I didn't know if he'd
Charlotte. What's that?
I didn't know if he won any goodwill at this point, because he always seems to have a hot end of the season.
right.
He always has a hot end of the season, but that at this point, we're tired of that. It's been two years of that in a row, and then we fizzle out. And if we had lost to Charlotte, he would have gotten fired. If we had lost to Charlotte on penalties, or if Facundo hadn't gotten off that dribble, we would have lost. We would have fired him, and I would have been okay with that. But now he needs to put up or shut up. He knows what this game means because he's the first one to ever win it for Orlando.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to go in with a mindset that we're going to try and win this thing in all-out fashion. He's not going to bunker. This is not going to be what we call a Poppy special where he hunkers back and tries to counter the entire match.
Yeah.
This is going to be all out special soccer. And I think it's going to be more indicative of how he looked in the Charlotte match than he did in the match we played against you guys, where we were just trying to get by, get fourth, coming off a 2 weeks rest. He's still playing for his job.
Interesting to hear that, that mindset, to hear that impression of him. I feel like he'll be back in 2025 regardless, but definitely a short leash. But we'll see what happens. Definitely,
it's going to be a shorter leash if he doesn't win.
Yeah,
I think it'll be a very short leash that he might ruin himself with, but we'll see.
Yeah. So I don't know, Tyler, if you had anything else, but I wanted to ask Alex before we got too far along, if he cared to make a prediction about Sunday.
Oh, well, that was the next question.
So your next question.
you can
took your thunder. Stole your.
No,
thunder.
you're good. You look, by all means, Alex. I know you're in hostile territory to a degree. You can throw it out there. We're not going to be mad.
Okay. I'm going to make the prediction that this is going to go 120. I don't think it's going to penalties. I think it's going to be 1-1 after 90, and Orlando is going to pull a cardiac cat in extra time and score and win 2-1.
Okay.
And then I'm going to fall over and die.
You got to at least make it to, if it again, hypothetically, when Orlando.
Oh, it has to be. It can't be just one. We're not winning this match on one goal unless we can somehow bunker for 120 minutes and send Brad Guzan into the great retirement beyond in penalty shootouts. But that I don't think it's going to make it that far. This thing's going to be settled on the field because if nothing else, I think the Orlando City fan base can't handle it again, and I don't think your fan base can either.
No, we can't.
We're doing it for our health.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think that's what it kind of comes down to. Also, like with this derby atmosphere, both teams are absolutely going to want to make sure that they don't have to deal with penalties. I think if it is a draw, like you said, that extra little bit of time is going to be must-see television. It's going to be chaotic. I'm excited. It'll be interesting. Also be interesting to see which version of each team, because Atlanta's been that team that's been so up and down, and we've had people on the show call them bipolar and this, that, and the other. Like they're just so up and down and inconsistent, and then they've hit a stride now, while Orlando, like you said, has started off slow, and then they kind of get up to speed, and then they do things at the end of the season. I remember last year, Orlando was statistically the best team outside of the end of Leagues Cup in terms of points.
That was how it was again this year.
Yeah. So it's going to be a spicy one, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But Alex, where can everybody find you at, buddy?
Before we talk about socials and all that, I did look up that brewery, Ivanhoe Park Lager House.
Great.
Okay.
It is actually relatively close to the stadium, so I've been there before, and it is a great time. They also have some great food. So that is my little Orlando pick for you. It's near I believe it's between a Church's Chicken and a Popeyes. So
wow.
Yeah,
so that's chicken and beer are the same stuff, right?
They got pizza too. It's pretty good.
And pizza.
Well, let me ask you this: which one do you like better, Church's or Popeyes?
Popeyes.
Ah, good for you. We can agree on one thing. I applaud.
I will say this much: I've got family in Atlanta. The first time, why am I forgetting the place downtown, the Varsity? Every time I got to go to the Varsity. Every time. I know it's kind of hysterical. Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love chili dogs. So I grew up in Chicago. So
okay. That's why you're a Bears fan.
Yep. So you can go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, I grew up in Chicago, moved down here 5 seconds after college, and that was the summer of 2014. Was never a soccer fan, even though I grew up near where the Chicago Fire used to play.
Yeah.
And ever since the ever since that World Cup, I've been a huge soccer fan. So that was the week that they announced Kaká. Ever since.
Okay.
And then my friends more recently got me addicted to cards. So I got a whole break of the new Superstar set to go through right after this. That is if my wife doesn't kill me.
Well, we'll get you out of here so you can get back to the very important stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. Where can everybody find you? And
I'm on Twitter still, and Instagram and pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
Ghost_writer, REITER. You can find the pod. We've been doing it for 7 years now. This is going to be the end of our 7th season. At Orlando Lions Den on all socials. We do a after match show where we just let people talk, much the same you guys do, called Den After Dark.
Yeah.
And last time I had to go on your show because I guaranteed a win against Atlanta on decision day, and I'm not doing that this time. I'm making my prediction, but I'm not saying what I said to Tommy because that came back to bite me real bad.
No betting beards or anything.
Right.
No, I mean, I could always bet to shave my head, but
yeah, we're in the same boat.
That was the joke I made with him last time. So
I like it.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. We appreciate you coming on, obviously, and whenever you're up in Atlanta visiting family, let me know. We'll go to the varsity, and I'll regret it after. But I'm always down for some good time. But we appreciate it, man. It was fun.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate
Enjoy the match. Safe travels.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Cheers.
Good stuff.
Cheers.
Man. And then look, we can do a hard exit. Everybody else, scarvesandspikes.com.
Yeah.
As Alex pointed out, go get you a mug for maybe one day when we do have a beer sponsorship. And go check out the website.
Absolutely.
Patreon as well. Patreon.com/scarvesandspikes. So
Patreon was down earlier today. I don't know if it's back up, but it's back up, it looks like.
Okay.
Yeah. Definitely go there and support us.
They got hacked. Who knows?
Hope not.
All right, guys. We appreciate it. We will talk to y'all again on Wednesday for the full Atlanta show. Bruno, yeah, maybe we should make our own beer. We have recipes.
That's an idea.
A lot of history brewing, so we can maybe make that happen.
See what you did there.
Just got to find a name that is a joke from the pod.
Yes, we have a few.
It's not like we have any shortage of those, by the way.
We have. I'm sure Miguel Berry would probably be involved somehow, but I want to hear from his lawyer. So
yeah,
good stuff.
U.S. playing tonight against Jamaica. Second leg of Nations League.
Something to go watch.
Yep.
Yeah.
2 Jamaican players couldn't make the trip because of passports. Passport issues.
Sounds like the same people at Blackburn that couldn't submit paperwork on time.
Hit the submit button in time.
Classic. We've been thanking our lucky stars for them every day.
Right.
Yeah, for real. There it is, Omar Berry Good Beer. That's it. That's the name right there.
We'll workshop it.
Hey, it'll be like a good, maybe like a raspberry sour or something.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Let's see, the ideas are there. They're sound. We just got to make it happen. All right, y'all. We went on long enough.